here we are. What's up, y'all? MIC, episode 51. Community, content, you get it all here. I got a very special guest with me for sure this week. Got one of our most esteemed guests for real. You feel me? But before we get into that, definitely want to remind you guys, community shirts are still available. They will be dropping on our website in the very near future. So once those drop, please, go to our website, run it up. Our community event is coming soon in like a matter of weeks. It's happening in August. But yeah, we will be handing out these backpacks for these school kids in Carrick, and there'll be footage of the event. And like I said, once these shirts drop, it'll go right to our next community event next year. So yeah, we're kind of already on the leg up with that. But I have a very accomplished woman sitting in front of me right now, Dr. Timbo. What's going on? Yeah. No. Talk your stuff. Let's not. Doctor before, you feel me? Like, let's not get it confused, man. But, so like the first time I saw you was at the What's the Tea event, which Cool Case set up, and shout out to Cool Case for that. That was a real dope event.
It was.
But when you were speaking, I was getting caught up in what you were talking about. I was expecting a whole hour from you right there, like you know what I mean. But they kind of cut you off, so like it's just kind of dope to have you here, and we can just kind of dive deeper into things, and man, just have a dope conversation. But I want to scale it back just for people who may not, be as familiar, may not know, your work and just your career. So obviously, you went through many years of schooling and things of that nature. Yeah, but
really.
what was life looking like for you at the time you decided to pursue your doctorate? Like, because I know a master's is a lot on one's plate, and to go even further than that to get your doctorate, that's definitely mentality.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
At that time, I don't know. A lot was on my plate. I was already a mom. I was already working full time
Right.
and kind of doing my thing. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. No, you're straight.
I was already working full time. I was a mom. Stuff was pretty hectic, but
Yeah.
I knew. One, I definitely prayed on it.
For sure.
Okay, is this part of my purpose and the reason why I'm here, placed on this earth? And then what do I actually want to do? What am I passionate about? And I was like, okay, I'm gonna pray on this and I'll apply to this program. And if I get in, cool. If I don't, cool. Purpose. I'll be aligned with my purpose at some point. So the first time I applied, I did not get in.
Oh wow.
And I was kind of sad, but I was like, all right, whatever, I'll just kind of focus on something else. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try one more time. I tried again and went back to work right after the interview. Well, I applied, they called me in for an interview, went right back to work after, and they called me while I was at work. And they were like, you got in, we didn't tell everybody yet, but we wanted to call you and let you know you got in. So I was like, okay. But I knew when I thought about it, when I prayed on it, that there's not the opportunities that I would like to see for Black people, especially here in Pittsburgh. I'm born and raised here, and I definitely think that we could be more advanced as a people. And
Sure.
I knew that if I do this, then I could maybe do my small piece in advancing us.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just kind of went for it.
Yeah.
And here I am now.
No, and that second effort, because just from what you were saying, being a mom, working and just throwing school on top of that, after that first, you sent your first application and you didn't get it, what kept you from being discouraged? What, let me just, work, chill, take care of my kids, and because throwing a whole layer of, school.
Yeah.
And how long did it take you to get your doctor? How many years of school? 4 years.
4
Crazy.
years.
So applying for another 4 years of school when you're already well into the workforce, yeah, how did you, keep yourself from not even being discouraged, or just being what, let me just, that's 4 years of school, let me chill out and, just kind of keep this path I'm forging right now?
I don't know. We talk a lot about people being hustlers.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we say that oh yeah, I'm a hustler, but we like attribute that or connect that with something negative. But I feel like that is in me.
That's a fact. Yeah.
Like it's in me, and that's how I've always been, good, good or
yeah,
bad.
for better or for worse. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just a part of like who I am, like my makeup. So I didn't really let that get me down. I'm also not a glass half empty type of person.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, glass half full. Like, all right, let me go at it again. Let me try again and like see what happens.
Yeah.
So I did. It didn't. Many things don't discourage me in general. I just try to find like another route. Like, all right, this route didn't work. Let me
Facts,
see what's up with.
I can get in
this
some
route.
way. Yeah, I could crack the door some
Right.
way. Like, nah, man, I respect it. I mean, like, I feel like, you know, just in this room right now, like, you know, you're with kindred spirits in that sense, man. Like,
I can tell y'all.
yeah,
smuggling.
nah. We gonna squeeze in somehow. Like, we gonna crack the door, nah, for sure. But so I read your mission statement was that like you assist, you know, your clients in getting in like a healthier place in their life. So like, you know, just apart from the doctor, like what inspired you to like, you know, want to do that for people? Because I'm like, I feel like that's like a very powerful mission to like, you know, carry out.
I feel like in our community, especially, we don't always have like the tools or the resources
Facts.
that they might not be created for us in a like a culturally competent kind of way. But then if there are resources created, I feel like it's difficult to try to obtain them. So,
Right.
I mean, my one little self, like, I'm like, if I have a private practice and I'm able to, I hone my skill, I really am thorough with what I learn and how I implement that, then maybe I can be one resource that's, you know, accessible.
Yeah.
You know, maybe if I am able to reach like that one person and kind of get them to think differently, like, you know, change their process, change the way that they view life and decision making, you know, maybe it'll have a trickle down
Yeah.
effect. So I'm hoping that it does.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that I reach one person.
No, and like I'm sure like you've reached way more than one person you for me, but like was that always the goal? Like even just going into school, you know, going for your bachelor's, like did you just always want to like, you know, carry that out?
No.
Okay. Yeah. So what was it like? So like it shifted or
So you know, like my parents they're amazing. Like
Yeah.
they definitely provided a good home for like me and my brother, and we had everything that we needed. You know, we weren't rich or anything like
Right.
that. I definitely had to get some things on my own.
For sure.
But you know, they provided everything. But my family in general, like my, you know, larger, more extended family, you know, go to school. We want you to make money, do this, do that. You're smart, you know, do all these different things. So when I originally graduated from high school, I went to HBCU. I loved it, should have stayed there.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I learned is that we might go on a Black college tour or we might hear about these HBCUs and it's like this thing that we want to be at, but we don't know all the other intricacies, like how much it costs. Is it public or private? You know, all these different things. So I get there, it's a private school. My major was pharmacy. I didn't have anything to do with like psychology, counseling, nothing. I was like, I'm going to go be a pharmacist.
Crazy.
I'm going to make
Was that like
money.
just like spurred by your parents? Like was that like internal? Like you just want to be a pharmacist?
No, I didn't not want to be a pharmacist, but I
Yeah.
didn't really want to be a pharmacist.
feel
I was
you.
just like, I'm going to school. I'm definitely going to make something of myself so that I can better my life.
Right.
You know, I know my parents wanted me to like make money and be stable and all of that other stuff. But it was crazy. It was crazy. Like I was doing well, but it wasn't what I was really passionate about.
Right.
School was super expensive, but the experience there was unmatched.
I don't know. I'm sure. Yeah.
Unmatched. I was like, is there any way I can stay here? But
8 years, 12.
Yeah.
Like yeah. Right.
Like please. But it was expensive. It was a lot, you know. I had experienced like a significant death around that time. So all of that kind of culminating together brought me back here. So I did 3 years there, came back here, went to Carlo. And while I was at Carlo, I got a bachelor's degree in health sciences. And I was like, what is this? Like, what am I really even going to do with this? This is not really what I want to do. And again, same thing I did for the doctoral program, I did for a master's program. Like I prayed on it, thought about it. Like where does my heart really lie? Like what is it that I really want to do? So, yeah.
Nah, incredible. Like, yeah, I mean, like I just don't think that, people would get that, lens on you, just like, up front, just like, just with your career line and like, like what you do. But so, with your work in the mental health field in the Black community, right? What are some like misconceptions from your perspective on prioritizing mental health in the Black community, if you've seen any at all? Like, just speak on that a little bit.
Yeah. One very big one, I think, is that, Black people that are spiritual or religious, I'm more spiritual myself. I can't tell you last time I went to church.
Yeah. No,
but know, right? I'm spiritual.
Facts.
But I think that the misconception is like, oh, we'll pray about it only. We'll only go to church.
Yeah.
We'll only talk to the pastor. I see that a lot. The other big thing is like, I'm cool. Like nothing's wrong with me. This is just, right, I'm just going through a difficult time in life. Yep, I'm going to just let it roll off.
Yep.
And those two things definitely don't always work at all. And it scares people, from kind of seeking more help and getting the things that they need. Like, yeah, you could go to church. You could get that whole, religious or spiritual component, talk to all the clergy at the church.
Yeah.
But also, I think that other people are placed in this world and in our lives to help us in a different kind of way. Doctors, psychologists, friends, family members, other people that are speaking life into you. Mm-hmm. So people are placed strategically throughout our lives. And I think sometimes we don't, see it
it's
that
a fact.
way.
Yeah, right.
So, and then just the whole idea, there's this concept that I love talking about, that I love researching, reading about. It's called the strong Black woman phenomenon. It talks about Black women just kind of feeling like they have to carry the weight of everything all of the time. And what it comes from is slavery. So like the whole kind of concept starts way back then and kind of emerges now and allows us to look at Black women's personification and the work that we do now or the lives that we lead, parenting, relationships, all of that type of stuff. But we feel like, we have to carry so much of the load on our back, and we can't express those emotions in like a typical feminine way.
Yeah.
But if you read it and you look at it, it's really Black men operate in that way too.
Sure,
it sounds like a Black woman's operating as a Black man. How society expects us to be.
Facts.
Oh, you don't cry about that. You don't whine about that. Black men don't cry. Oh, Black women don't cry either.
Yeah.
Like all of those things. So I see those as like the two biggest misconceptions. Let stuff roll off and church will fix you.
I feel that. And like, how do you when you come across clients that, just kind of have these innate type of how do you kind of bypass and maneuver that or do you just kind of how do you break that wall down?
I just talk about it out loud. And a lot of times in a therapy session and in a therapy relationship, I kind of let the client lead where they want to go. So it's not I can't tell them these are the things that you absolutely need to change and work on. Yes, I can highlight them, but I kind of allow them to lead, and then I implement, all of whatever knowledge and skill that I might have or have learned or whatever. But yeah, if that's the stuff that they want to talk about, that's where we go. I
feel that. So I mean, you kind of spoke on it earlier. Just as far as the accessibility, do you think therapy has always been accessible as it should be, or do you feel more recently? Because I'm gonna say maybe the last 5, 6, 7 years, society has as a whole has moved towards prioritizing mental health. So do you think that recent movement kind of helped create more avenues than maybe last decade?
I think so. I think so. I think that there has definitely been an influx.
Yeah.
Before, I was in this field, and most of the people that I even heard about receiving help or going to therapy were white women that I worked with, and not white men.
Yeah.
They didn't say anything about it at all, just like us. But but white women were like, "Oh, I'm gonna go see my therapist. I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool. I'm a therapist."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, Darla, this is amazing. This is so great." And I'm like, It is.
Yeah.
But I'm like, well, I would think in the back of my mind, like, well, where are my people? It's
Right.
good. It should be accessible
For sure.
for everyone.
For sure.
But where is some of the accessibility?
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that is lacking for us. Accessibility to a lot of things that can help us, not just therapy,
It's a fact.
healthcare, food,
Word.
resources,
Education.
education,
Yeah.
all of that. All of that. I should have worn my education instead of incarceration shirt. That's what I should have worn.
Word, yeah. Next time. For sure.
But yeah, I mean, I definitely think in the last few years,
Yeah.
it's become more of a thing, more accessible. I think a lot of like athletes, a lot of famous people are speaking on it more.
For sure.
And it's kind of highlighting. And I know a little bit before we started, we talked about like some of those resources that people with money have that maybe we don't. And that's one of the things that I have seen, for sure. Like they're talking about therapy, putting more stuff kind of out, and letting people know like, okay, it's all right to get help, letting us know.
For sure. No, I mean, I totally agree with you. Cause like, I mean, we even just, more recently, Naomi Osaka, if I'm saying her name, the tennis player. Mm-hmm. She like it was a whole controversy when she was like, "Listen, I'm taking a break from like it was like a very like major game. Like forgive me for any tennis fans, like,
right?
You know what I mean? But it like she pretty much just said like, "Listen, I'm taking a step away from the game to take care of my mental health." And the world was is she allowed to do this? Oh, like
she should be.
Yeah, and like I totally agree because like I mean she's what like 22, 23 years old and just like has known tennis her whole life, been in the spotlight her whole life. Like that's not a normal life to lead. Right. And like I'm sure behind closed doors there's just layers of stuff that she has to deal with, just like even in like going through that lifestyle. So it's I've definitely like you said like in like the last 5 or 6 years I've just seen an influx of just like people like prioritizing their mental health. And like I think it's great.
Me too. Yeah. Me too. People should. One thing, I don't know if this is one of the things that you want me to talk about.
No, speak on whatever you want to speak on for real.
One thing that I think COVID has shown us is that work, whatever our work is or whatever that consists of, can definitely be done differently.
Oh, yes.
And
facts.
People are tired. Yeah. Black people are tired. The inequity that has been felt and observed
facts.
Up until this, I mean, it's still, not equal, not equitable. But we still feel that. But I think people are also speaking more on that. Like, no, I need to prioritize myself. I need to get like my mental health right so that I can show up in the places that I am purposeful in.
Facts, yeah.
And not because you want me to do all this stuff or you want to load me down. And the image, whenever I talk about this stuff, the image that I always have is seeing, it's not funny, but it just like trips me out every time because I'm like, why does this image keep coming to me? But seeing like us during slavery in a field with like a child strapped on our back and this like the child, the actual child that's strapped on our back during slavery as women are picking cotton, as, men are picking cotton or tobacco or whatever else they had us out there doing. It's like now it's translated into not necessarily, a physical child, but this other like entity, all of this other stuff that we're carrying on our back and picking through here in Pittsburgh or wherever else we live.
Facts. Wherever your Pittsburgh country. Is, like, right,
wherever your Pittsburgh is. And it's just like we have such this heavy weight on us that we have to carry, and it's tiresome. It's tiresome.
Yeah, no, for
sure.
But
I think these last couple years, therapy has definitely become super prevalent.
Yep.
But then also COVID shed some light on therapy and therapeutic needs and some other stuff like why there's just a huge
shift, man. And like COVID definitely opened that up. Like I mean just kind of like harkening back to my work experiences, like I'm obviously like not naming any names, but like I worked in a place where it was literally like all like the entry level like kind of like worker bees were like at one level in a room with no windows. We got like, we sat in the computer, we're working crazy hours. And then all the upper management, I didn't see a black person there. You know what I mean? But then like all the black people were literally at, in the same room at the lowest level of the building. Like, if that was purposeful, I don't know. But like, that dynamic just spoke volumes. Like, cause like even like the supervisor would just like, you know, kind of come in, like, you know, look around. Like, I was just like, this is giving real, like, the vibes I'm getting right now is real. Like, and I didn't stay long, needless to say. Yeah, you know what I mean? I didn't really stay long, but I really feel like, you know, COVID definitely kind of like, you know, opened, you know, people's eyes to them. Like you said, man, they're tired.
Yeah.
They're tired. Like, if I can do my job even, you know, just at home in like 3-4 hours.
Yeah.
Why do I have to be in this one spot? And it's like, you know, going to these meetings that may not even matter or may not pertain to me or may not, like, I'm just doing busy work for what? Like, it doesn't make any sense. So like, I'm definitely with you as far as that goes, but even kind of like, you know, speaking on like the workplace, right? So you give diversity and like inclusion trainings, like, you know, for, you know, institutions and like organizations. And it's, because, like, I was seeing that and, like, I was like, are there really people that genuinely don't understand the benefits of having different people in different minds? Like, you have to go in, like, this is why we need different people here to express different ideas and make sure, like, you know, ideas are fleshed out and true to a culture or, like, true to a view. Like, it was mind-blowing to me. Like, do people not understand that? Or, like, are they kind of coming to more fine-tune that? Like, what do you find?
I've seen a little bit of both.
Yeah.
People really are clueless sometimes, and some people just need some fine tuning. I think there are a lot of well-meaning white people.
Yeah.
And that's good. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. But I think sometimes well-meaning doesn't always get the job done.
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't always get the job
Intention
done.
doesn't always equal result.
Right.
Type of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, we can mean well.
Right.
And sit back and not do anything. Like, you all could mean well if you want to get kids school supplies and book bags. Like, oh, like, we're going to talk about it, and, you know, we mean well. Like, we want to help the kids, but take no action.
Yep.
But you didn't do that.
Yep.
You took some action. So I think there's well-meaning, but I think sometimes, you know, people that sit in these higher positions that we just talked about have the ability to to level out the playing field, and that's not always what
they choose to do.
Yeah, what they choose to do for a lot of different reasons. And some of those reasons, you know, I might talk about in a diversity training or, you know, a cultural competence training. Sometimes people mean well, but they're also scared. Sometimes Black people mean well, but they're also scared because of, you know, like, oh, if I speak up or if I say something, this is my livelihood, I ain't gonna have a job. They gonna get me out of here.
Facts.
And white people, you know, they might think the same thing, you know, a lot of times. But yeah, so I talk about all that in some of the diversity and cultural competence trainings. A lot of times in some of those cultural competence trainings, I talk to other therapists or other clinicians about providing culturally competent care. Okay. So they could be, you know, Black, white, or, you know, whatever race or ethnicity they ascribe to. But yeah, like, we'll talk about like cultural competence, how to meet the client where they are, how to be a culturally competent clinician, even if you are not like the same race or ethnicity as someone else. So I have many different clients that come to me. And culture isn't always like race or ethnicity. Right. So I see a lot of people that are released from incarceration. That is a culture. Facts. You know, that's a culture. So, I mean, I ain't never been to jail. I worked, you know, in a jail. Felt like I was in there for real sometimes because we couldn't leave for lunch. But, you know, I've never been incarcerated. So, you know, if they're coming from this particular culture and they're coming to me for counseling, like, I need to be culturally competent. So we talk about all that different stuff in some of the trainings too.
I love that phrase, culturally competent. Like, I just feel like it just kind of hits the nail on the head. Because like you said, like, it's not just for Black people, not just for white people, not just for, like, you know, it's not about race. You know, like I think like it's a certain culture. Like you said, like being incarcerated. That's not. Well, you know, I mean, it's not specific to Black people, but, you know, there's, you know, records show other, you know what I mean? But it's just like, it's that's a whole, you know, other thing. But like, it's specific to cultures, right? Like, like, you're trying to, you know, make sure that like the culture is seen, the culture is heard. But how was that initially like so like when you first got into like diversity and like and inclusion in these spaces, like what was that initially like navigating, like it's just like damn, like pretty much like let some niggas in, like shit, yeah, like shit, essentially like what we doing here,
Right.
like what was the early stages of like navigating that, like
Oh man, like my first couple trainings,
Yeah.
there were no black people, so I was nervous.
Crazy, right?
I was
Yeah, I'm
nervous.
sure, right.
And yes, I wanted to say
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I'm like, in my mind, I'm like why can't we work here?
Yeah,
or
facts.
whatever. But I mean, I would just kind of go in and try to put like my fear and nervousness to the side
yeah.
and just kind of present the facts, present statistics, talk about maybe some of my own experiences as a black woman in like predominantly white spaces or institutions or whatever. Doing role plays, like I did a couple role plays like at the beginning.
That's
and
crazy.
It was crazy because they were afraid. Like, oh my god,
what can we touch?
Right,
Yeah, like what
right.
can we do right now? Like
Why is she talking about this? Why is she making us do this? But I
Man.
mean, I think it drove it home for sure. It drove it home.
Yeah.
It drove it home. I was met with a lot of silence. A lot of silence. Yeah. But the more comfortable I became with myself as a black woman, and I don't feel, just side note, like I don't feel like I've ever had a problem with being a black woman or like an outspoken or, kind of, I think all black women are strong, but a strong black woman.
not afraid to speak your mind type
Right.
of right.
Yeah. And I mean, I could do it professionally
For
and,
sure,
and
right.
all of that, but I don't have a problem with doing that. But I was afraid to kind of introduce some of these thoughts and ideas and, some of the literature and text to,
Yeah.
White groups of people.
Sure.
I was like, what am I going to be met with? But yeah, I was met with a bunch of silence, and I was like, okay, the more comfortable I kind of became with myself as a black woman in that space, delivering that information, that material.
Yeah.
it was
That
all good
silence
from
was
there.
probably loud as hell. Like you just were
was.
like,
I used to get so nervous, like I'm sweating.
yeah, man, no, and like props to you for just like even navigating through that. That's wild. Like, cause like I was like diversity and inclusion. Like I understand like why this is, but like, are there really people that genuinely need someone else to be like, maybe there shouldn't just be a bunch of white people here? Like, especially when all our clients or whatever businesses that they're in aren't all white.
Yeah.
Like I don't care what line of work you're in. Like your clientele is not always going to be one thing. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. I work several different places, and this past year we had like a diversity, equity, and inclusion company
okay.
come in and do like this DEI training for the department that I work in. And I wasn't shocked by the response or how people interacted or the lack of interaction. But it was interesting to see. But what was like very interesting was the phone calls that I got after this kind of training.
Yeah, well, phone
And
call,
they're like, oh, well, Dr. Timbo, can we talk? I want to know more. But you weren't paying attention when a woman was talking in the first place. That's the first step. I think that you have to be willing, or at least a little bit interested in engaging in that conversation if you're really, if you really want to make a change. If you're really invested in that. Listen,
Facts.
like talk, ask questions in the open while
That's
the
what I'm
whole
saying.
department
Yeah.
is there.
I mean,
don't call me on the back line.
It'll show some of your peers that like, oh, we can like, kind of like, have questions about this, or like, cause like, his question in that open space, in the open forum, could have opened a whole floodgate. Like, oh, if he asked that, then like, yeah, cause I had this question. Let me try to figure something about that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So whatever.
No,
I answered the questions on the back.
Yeah.
the
No,
background,
yeah. I feel that.
But yeah, just, I think what it would show us is that, okay, I'm invested. I want to make things equitable. I also want to learn and understand.
Yeah.
We are forced to learn and understand about other cultures.
It's a fact, yeah.
And we don't really have a choice. As soon as we enter school, we're learning about all of these different things. But our history and our culture is not embedded in, what we're learning on a regular basis. So just trying to kind of put that out there
For
and
sure.
allow people to learn about that and talk about it, ask your questions. Because the well-meaning white people that are definitely doing the work
Yeah,
that
that
I
could
would
use it.
consider
Yep.
friends
Yep.
are speaking up
Yep.
in rooms that we aren't even in. They're saying things on our behalf. And I know because it comes back to me. Or I catch them in the act, like on accident. I'm walking to the bathroom like, oh, Susie
Like,
did.
damn,
she...
yeah, like you turned up more than I would have.
Right.
Yeah, like, yeah.
So, and I'm like, okay, I
Yeah.
appreciate you. I appreciate you. But that's what we need,
Yeah.
too. That's
No,
what we need.
for sure. I love that, and just definitely keep hitting, like hammering the nail on that, because that's gonna crazy that, like, that there's people out there that's like, oh no, yeah, maybe we should, yeah, sure, yeah, yeah. No, that's crazy. But so like I know like you touched on it earlier, but because like you said, like you just kind of like usually in sessions let your clientele kind of like speak their piece, and like but like what else like would you describe as your approach to helping people reach their mental health goals? Like,
therapy for sure. And I think what people do outside of therapy, like I talk a lot about that, like in a session. So being in therapy with me is just a microcosm of like how a person might act in the bigger world, in the greater world. This is just, our relationship. But from this, we could both learn a lot about how we are out there. So I think a lot of what people take from therapy and implement in their greater lives is one of the big goals. Sure. I would say. I don't know. I hope that answered your question.
No. That makes a lot of sense. Like, I was like, you can't speak on like individual sessions and things like that. But yeah, I mean, like, do you find that like people are initially just more closed off generally? Like, do you kind of have people that like are open books and like are willing to kind of just
for
spill
sure
out immediately? Okay. Yeah.
Maybe like 50-50.
Okay.
People will call for therapy and they might be kind of closed off initially, but they don't know me.
Yeah.
They don't know me. It might be something new. They may have never engaged in therapy before. They may, a lot of their interactions and issues might come from, women. So like if a man comes to me for therapy, a lot of his issues might stem from a woman, or something from childhood that has to do with a woman, or they might be adopted, or they might not have had a lot of interaction with healthy or positive women, or they might have been in jail for 20 years and they ain't seen no women other than the guards. I don't know. Like it's different dynamics.
Sure.
Some women might come and a lot of their issues are with other Black women, like in the workplace, something like that. So yeah, I think some people are kind of closed off. They're nervous, but as we get going, some people come first, second, third session, and I know
giving
everything.
it up, right? Yeah.
I'm like, okay, all right. So you told me this, where would you like to go with that? And I let them tell me where they would or wouldn't like to go with it, and then we navigate that together.
Feel that. How was it navigating your first therapy session?
It's fine.
Yeah, just like it was just like was this like always just kind of like a smooth, just like, all right, like I'm in the game now, or like
it's not always smooth.
Yeah, right. Sure. Yeah.
Sometimes people discllose stuff, and I'm like, oh, I have to take steps.
I know I'm your therapist, but y'all ain't need to know that game. Like, I'm gonna keep it real with you. Like, you don't pay me enough for that. Like,
I'm like, well, first session, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's smooth though, but not always. It's pretty standard. Like I ask standard questions the first session, and then also allow them to go where they want. And I tell them too, like I'm very transparent. This is the first time that you're meeting me.
Facts.
Or you're engaging with me. You might be scared, and that's okay. And I'm not judging you. And if you spill everything, I'm also not judging you about that. I want this to be a safe place for people to come and talk to, and for you to feel safe. We might have to grow into that. And I just straight put it out there.
I feel that.
And then let them do whatever they want with that.
I feel that, man. Nah, man. This is so. I mean, you're also involved with Cal U's criminal justice faculty. Like I'm
in the psychology department.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. So we were one.
Okay.
So criminal justice. So you're not wrong. Criminal
Gotcha, yeah.
justice and psych were one department.
Okay.
Now we're separate.
Okay, so
Yeah.
it's like, did they like not just like attach you to like the criminal justice because like you didn't work in criminal justice, or like?
No, it was just one department.
Okay.
So I taught, well, I teach. I'm still there. I teach primarily psych classes, but I do teach a forensic psych class where we talk about
dope.
like it's psychology,
Yeah.
you know, in the criminal justice system,
Okay.
what that forensic psych might look like.
How'd you branch off into like forensics? Sound like that's kind of wild.
I worked at the jail for a couple
Oh,
of
okay.
years.
Yeah.
This was some time ago, and then you know I've just been seeing kind of clients in that area ever since, like in my private practice.
Okay, I got you.
And then
Okay.
they just had me teaching
Got you.
a forensic psych class.
How is it being
Yeah.
a professor, just like, you know, to
It's
college
cool.
students? Yeah, you like it?
It's
Just-
all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Small props, I feel
It's
that.
okay.
Nah.
I embed cultural competence in every single class, and some students are not ready for that.
Huh.
So
Really?
yeah, some students aren't ready for that. But again,
I feel like college students like would be more open to that like
uh,
mindset. Like,
not all.
damn.
And I think it has a lot to do with like where a university might be situated and
Facts.
who
Yeah.
might come to that
Yeah.
university.
Nah, I feel that.
And you know, things aren't as diverse, you know, around here as maybe we would like them to
For
be.
sure, yeah.
Or maybe how people think they are. It could be an illusion.
Yeah.
It could be an
No, yeah,
illusion.
honestly.
You didn't hear that from me, but it could be an illusion.
Right.
But yeah, so I think it's just the students that come. Some are ready. Some are super receptive.
Yeah.
You know, and we're preparing students to go forth and like get their master's or their doctorate, and we're preparing them to go forth and work in these fields. So like they do need to be culturally competent. So I put little tidbits in every single one of my classes
I
and
feel
kind of
that.
teach from that perspective.
Leaving those like little seeds of, you know what I mean? If you know, you know type vibes.
Yep.
Nah, I feel
Yep.
that. So like how would you say like your line of work or, you know, your career path has helped, you know, you personally with your mental health in your everyday life? Like,
Ooh, a lot of what I talk about with my clients, I try to implement. So definitely not perfect
Yeah.
at all. I definitely have like 1,000,001 things on my plate, but the stuff that we talk about, I try to implement that.
yeah.
At one point, for a long period of time, I had this very like regimented schedule where I would get up in the morning, kind of do a spiritual thing, work out, and then kind of go on with my day. And then in the evening, I would have another like little small routine that I would do after the work day was over. But yeah, I would say in the past couple months, I haven't been doing that, and I could tell the difference. Yeah, I could tell the difference.
Are you just like kind of like off your kilter in like
Yep.
some moments, or yeah?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How,
Yeah.
how about get back into that routine? Like,
I just have to do it.
yeah.
Yeah, I just have to do it. Like I have to stop telling myself in my mind, like, oh, you know, next week you're gonna do it. Like, all right, well, why can't I do
You
it
just get on it now.
today? Yeah. So in preparation for coming here, because this is stuff that I'm really passionate about. Like I
Facts.
could give up other stuff that I'm doing.
Yeah.
You know, I can say, no, I don't really want to do that. But this type of stuff I'm super passionate about. So I was like, well, I'm doing something I like
Yeah.
today. So I'm going to start the whole day off with that routine. And I did.
Facts.
So I got up and
Dope.
so I can just say like, oh, I started again today.
Dope. Yeah. No,
So-
that's dope.
but yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult when you kind of are out there trying to do your
Facts.
best and trying to really do things to uplift your community, and you just kind of fall off a little bit, or I fall off a little bit. So yeah, I just got to do it.
I feel that.
Again.
So what would you say, you know, in your opinion, like what are steps that people can take, right? Because like, you know, we talked about access, right? And it's like, you know, if you don't have access to it, like that does not mean you should just shun your mental health. You know what I mean? Like there's definitely ways that you can help that. You know what I mean? If you don't have access to therapy or, you know, other resources, like what would you suggest, like even just kind of like, you know, frame someone who may not have that access, who may not even be ready to take that step?
Yeah.
Because it's people that have the access, but like, I don't want to sit in front of a therapist. Why I got to sit in front of a therapist? Like, what are they going to tell me? Like, you know, like I can't figure out my, you know, like that type of, so like what would you suggest like for those people that, you know, that want to take care of their mental health, but are just in that space?
Yeah. Several things. So podcasts, for sure. And that's something I do myself. I love a podcast. I'm always on a podcast, always listening.
Yeah, I mean, look at that. Product placement. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
So, like, definitely pull up podcasts. We
Yeah.
all have access to some type of, computer,
Streaming
phone.
device, right.
Yeah. So podcasts, books. So if people don't have access to like a streaming device or any electronics or whatever, like just hit up the library. If you don't really like to read, Audible books is perfect.
I was about to say, because like going to the library is like, if you tell someone
That's
to do
old school, I
that,
know.
it's like, damn, it's like, what?
Right. It's old school. My kids were like, well, what is there a library in our neighborhood? I'm like, sons. I got two sons. I'm like, it's right around the corner. They're like, oh, where's the door at? We drive by.
Where's
but
the door?
I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, these kids don't even know where the door is to the library.
Crazy.
So
That's funny.
that's gonna have to be our family field trip.
Yeah.
Here's the door to the library. I'm gonna need you to know. But yeah, like, just pull up Audible books.
Sure, yeah.
There are Audible books that are free sometimes. You don't necessarily have to pay. So podcasts, Audible books, coming up with a routine. Like that keeps us so grounded, and people don't get that. I have a lot of clients that come and are like, yeah, first thing in the morning, I get up, I hit the weed and do whatever else. And I'm like, okay, all right, let's capitalize off of that.
Yeah.
If you're already anxious, weed can make you more anxious. And it's not calibrated in a way that it is like if you buy it from a dispensary. So you might not know how much or how little you need to help you with a particular mental health issue.
Word.
It can exacerbate mental health issues.
That's real.
But I give them that little tidbit of information, but I also say you have a routine. You wake up, you go to the bathroom, and you smoke. That's a routine. So how can we adjust that routine to help you kind of set your day on a different trajectory? So most times people are receptive to that. Like, all right, well, maybe I could replace this with this, or maybe I could smoke less weed and, put music on and, kind of change the mindset before I start doing other things. So we just take steps.
Yeah.
So having a routine can help a lot. And then the fourth thing I would say is having like somebody that you trust, that you can talk to.
Who's not a therapist.
That's not a therapist.
Right.
Yeah, if somebody feels like they're not ready for that, all of our information is not for everybody.
Facts.
We might have friends or associates or family members that we might not necessarily feel safe talking to. Don't talk to those people. Keep it surface. You can be loving, caring, whatever, but keep it surface. But have at least one person that you feel like, okay, I can talk to this person, I can say some things to this person, and I know that it's going to be safe until I'm ready to get in front of a therapist. So those are a couple of things I would say to do.
I feel like the routine thing is huge, man. I just even kind of learned that recently, just kind of, when I'm in my funks, or just like when I was in just like kind of like my foggy, just kind of getting up and still, just kind of getting to it. Just like in whatever aspect, like, just like kind of still going to the gym, doing, taking care of myself, like around the house, the laundry, like, what I mean? It's like kind of not taking myself out of my own day definitely helped it, like, as opposed to like when I'm just sitting there, just curled up in my anxiety, it's like, like, I don't want to do anything, I don't want to talk to anybody. Like, it's just like, I mean, like, have you like, experienced that like in your own life at all? Like, has like routines helped you kind of keep an anchor to,
yes,
I mean, like, what you do?
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. It helps me stay fresh. I read a lot, listen to a lot of podcasts, listen to a lot of Audible books. I sneak reading in like at night sometimes. But yeah, it keeps me anchored. It keeps me feeling like I'm smart.
I feel you.
It keeps me like, up on relevant stuff that's happening, important stuff, that's happening, because I want to be able to like feed that back into somebody else. So it does help. It does help.
I feel that.
Yeah.
Did you see Will Smith's apology like he dropped to Chris Rock?
I saw that.
Yeah, like what are your thoughts as a therapist?
I don't know. He needs help.
Oh, Yeah, no, because I mean, like, I was even talking to Mike, and like I was like, yeah, like, what'd you think of the apology? He's like, it didn't take 3 months to, it didn't need 3 months to,
No.
like for an apology type of thing.
No,
Yeah, I
not
mean,
at
like,
all. Not
yeah,
at
I mean,
all.
it's just, I mean, that's like just a real huge case of mental health that, like, like
Yeah.
we're seeing right there, like.
I try, and I'm still human, and I have this little post that sometimes I'll throw out there on social media, like I'm a person first, I'm a woman first, and then I'm a therapist. Like I'm both.
Yeah.
I'm many different things. But I try my best to operate from a place of non-judgment. I try not to be like super judgmental. Now, am I judgy sometimes? Yeah, like I'm human.
Yeah.
But I try my best not to operate from that place. I think that probably something's going on with him.
I mean, yeah.
You know, none of us are perfect, and just because these people are stars or in the limelight, I mean, they're really regular like you and I.
Yeah.
You know, nothing is perfect. No one is perfect. I think he's just going through it, and Chris
agree.
Rock just got slapped up because he was going through it.
Yeah, agreed.
That's just who he took it out on, you know. But I think probably stuff under the surface was brewing before
for sure.
That. Yeah.
I mean, like, cause like he even said in the video, like, yeah, like Jada didn't tell me to do that. Like I just bugged out, and like it was like, that's fair. Like I can respect that. Like, you know, cause I mean, like the whole narrative was that like she rolled her eyes, she looked at him. And then like he was like, oh well, I guess I gotta do something. Like, yeah, you know what I mean. But like, it's funny to hear that like he was like, yeah, she didn't tell me to do anything. Like that was entirely so. Like I appreciated the fact that like he just kind of like stood on that. This is like she didn't, guys, like she ain't told me to do anything. Like that was my decision. I went up there and I slapped the taste out that man's mouth. Like that's just what I was. Type of one that I was. You feel me? But nah. So just kind of like going back to like how your career path like kind of helped you in your life. Like, do you think helping other people navigate their mental health issues and like it's just kind of like get them to like that happier place, has that helped you in like your motherhood journey and like just like developing as like a mother?
I like that question. I think so.
Yeah.
I definitely use some counseling skills on my kids.
Facts. Yeah. Like do you do you try to impart some
Definitely.
just some knowledge on them, like
I do,
as far as that goes?
I do. And I see a lot of men that are sad and that are hurting and that are trying to navigate this world. So stuff that I learn from my clients, I definitely store it and then try to feed it back to my kids for sure. Yeah. Yeah, I tell them lots of stuff. And I always tell them too, like, you can be open with me. Now, I might fuss at you because you didn't clean your room you making too much noise on the game with let's go and all that crazy stuff all the time. But that's okay. I'm fussing at you. I'm, just
I'm your mom. I'm going to do that. Yeah, right.
Right. But trying to impart some of the wisdom and knowledge that I'm gaining, that I'm learning from, and through my clients, I do.
Yeah.
I do. I try to give it back to
is
them.
like, what is like one thing you said, like you just like one concrete thing that like you try to be like, if there's anything you take from it, just this.
Treat people with kindness and respect. And I'm going to be transparent. I done met a lot of disrespectful men.
Word, yeah.
I done met some disrespectful women too.
Yeah, for sure.
But I've met some disrespectful men, but it's not really like they're coming from this place of disrespect. It's like they're coming from this place of hurt, being jaded, having had these bad experiences, these traumatic experiences. And that's like, oh, in order for me to protect myself and have this kind of shell where nobody can kind of get near, my defense mechanism is this crazy mouth, being disrespectful or, just talking crazy and doing crazy stuff. Yeah. So I try to teach them that, come from a place of kindness, come from a place of like authenticity and just be you. You might vibe with some people and some people you won't. They're not your people.
Facts.
That's cool. Just, kind of move on. Treat women with respect. You don't have to be in a relationship with somebody and be doing all this other crazy stuff. Just tell everybody you want to be friends. So if she see you out on a date with someone else, y'all are all just friends.
That's my friend.
Right, y'all are all just friends. But keep things
friendly.
like above ground, like treat
Facts.
people kindly, and that will treat people with respect, be authentic. That stuff will come back to you. That stuff will come back to you. So I really try to impart that on them.
No, that's awesome. And like I just kind of to your point about the sad men. Like what like I don't know, just like kind of speak on that a little bit more. Like why do you think there's just like such a group of sad men in like society pretty much? I just don't feel like they can feel that way or like they just don't feel like the right to be like, oh man, like just because we're men and we're told to I gotta brush it off, gotta provide this, gotta do this, gotta do that. Like
well, you said it, society creates that construct. It creates that construct just like it created a construct around like the strong black woman phenomenon. Society set it up like that. That is my belief. There's also research you know, on.
I 1000% agree. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not just black men. We're talking about black men right now, but society sets this
men
construct
whole,
about men as a whole, right? They have to act and operate in this particular way. If I'm thinking about black men and thinking about what I know as, of course, not a black man, as a black woman, but also like what I've researched, what I know about history, how I work with black men in therapy, I definitely think it goes back to slavery. I attribute a lot of stuff to slavery.
I mean, it's really just a trickle down. If we, I mean, just going back to like the prison system.
Yeah.
Like that's a direct trickle down from slavery. Like, it was, you know what I mean? So yeah.
Absolutely.
A lot of truth to that.
And it's that's what it is.
Yeah.
You know, and society says that men have to do all of these things and have to be strong, and you know, in being strong can't really show any emotions about you know, anything really.
Yeah.
And I think it's difficult. I think we're breaking the stigma around that, but I still think it's hard. Because I think there's hard black women too. Like we also feel like that we can't necessarily show the emotions that we want, and then we're in relationships with each other and we both just hard. Like, oh, well,
we both just tough. Like we both just Tupac out here. Like
I'm not crying.
Right.
I'm also not expressing to you that something hurt me. Yeah, but I might try to.
Just both Luke Cage.
Right.
Bro, just nothing penetrating.
Right. So that's a difficult place to be. And it's a difficult way to have relationships, whether they're romantic or not. Whether they're friendships or family relationships. It's a difficult place to be and navigate.
How's the dance, like, if you are in a relationship with someone, like, what's, like, the best way, like, you know, just hold your partner accountable, right? But then, like, also just kind of keep their, you know, mental health, like, you know, at, you know, peak levels.
I think we have to keep our own mental health. I think
it's our job, right?
It is our own personal job. We can have people support us,
Facts.
but we have to do like the necessary work. And I think communication, like I think a lot of things go unsaid, and that's where people are left to wonder. Like, oh, what are they thinking? What are they feeling? Why are they doing this? Why are they doing that? But really, we could just talk to each other and just put it out there. I don't like when you do this. This hurts my feelings. But then when people tell you that, you also, like, we also need to listen.
Facts.
And say, like, all right, they communicated these things to us. Let me not brush them off. Let me not close the door on that, you know, communication or whatever. And we can communicate good stuff too. Like that has a huge impact as well. So communication for sure, I would say.
No. What podcast like do you just like kind of like, you know, keep tapped into, like?
Ooh. Oh, can I get my phone?
Yeah, no, please, nah, go for it. Nah, this is for sure.
I gotta be.
This Dr. Timbo listening to all the podcasts.
Right.
Yeah, man, I'm trying to find out.
Oh, my memory. Hold on, because I have a lot on here that I love.
Okay.
So I listened to the first one that came up, Around the Way Curls, and it's just two black women talking shit.
Yeah.
I listened to the Ramsey show. He talks about finances. He talks about nothing that has to do with mental health at all. But, you know, another resource that sometimes we are not, you know, that's privy to.
I mean, like, bro, like me and him talk about financial literacy on, like, he's just taught me so much as far as that goes. Like, it's insane the amount of just like kind of basic knowledge as far as finances goes that one aren't accessible, but like aren't even taught to just like people in America in general. Like, you know, like black people, like that's their own thing. Like they're not even gonna give them the access to like to the information.
Yeah.
But it's like everyone on like a grander scale, like just simple stuff that will just help people not even monopolize their own wealth, but just like kind of help them just generally make better financial decisions. Like
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
basic information. It's just like what, like you, like why isn't this in a book like everywhere? Like you know what I mean? But yeah. Not to cut you off.
No,
yeah.
that's okay.
Yeah.
You could go off about
Yeah.
it. It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. So I listened to him, and I listened to 3. I'm going to tell you the 4 main. These are the 4 main
Facts.
ones that I listened to. So I listened to those 2 that I just told you. I listened to Dropping Gems by Debbie Brown.
Okay.
I love her. She talks a lot about mental health. She talks a lot about self-care, and not the self-care that we
lighting candles, burning sage. Like stop with the sage TikToks.
She talks about that. She talks about that, but it's in a different context. I feel like, we might think like, mental health is or self-care is like, burning a candle and getting a hot bath.
Right.
But she takes it out of that context. She talks about all of these other things, but then she talks about the nitty-gritty too. Like, get a therapist, do this, do that, get outside of your house. Sometimes we have to get outside of ourselves. So she talks a lot about that, and I love it. I listen to Therapy for Black Girls.
Okay.
I love her. Dr. Joy Harton Bradford, she is awesome. So she has a website. She has all these other things. I listen to her a lot. The Homecoming podcast with Dr. Tama. She comes from like this spiritual perspective.
Okay.
And I know she does a lot of work in the church, but she also is not pushy with it. So she comes from this spiritual lens, but also this therapeutic lens as well.
I know that's refreshing because just like if you're coming from the church, I know people kind of have like a little bit of a stigma that like they're just gonna try to force their belief on you or like that's right.
No.
Yeah.
I don't even know what else to say about
that.
Yeah,
no,
facts.
facts.
But you can't force anything down anyone's throat, not even therapy. People have to come as they are. That's what we're told, right?
Right.
Come as you are.
Yeah.
So, and I think her podcast definitely highlights that. Come as you are, and we're just going to talk about the things that you present. I love her. Love her. And then Getting Grown. So there are 2 women, Jay and Kia, and they talk about whatever.
Yeah.
So your podcast is kind of giving me their vibe.
Okay, word. All right.
Yes, they talk about whatever. They come on. I think I want to say that one of them she might be a psychologist.
Okay.
She's a PhD something.
There we go.
Yeah.
Those 3 letters though. Credibility through the roof. Yeah.
She's a PhD something, but she's so down to earth.
Okay.
She's so down to earth, and I just love them.
That's dope. Okay.
They talk about like whatever current events are happening. Their vibe is like unmatched. So they might talk about some sad stuff. They might talk about some happy stuff, all in the same episode. They might talk about current events. They might use a current event to connect to something to the past. They might just talk shit at the beginning of their of their thing. So, for 20 minutes, they're just cracking up. And I am too, because it's funny. So yeah, I love them. They talk about very relevant things. So yeah, so those are my
That's
main
dope.
ones.
I feel like, someone could pick one of those that
Right.
like, you mentioned, find their new podcast, man. So that's definitely awesome. So one last question for you. Don't want to take a crazy amount of your time, but so like what are your thoughts on like the current state of like the mental health movement, like just like the degree it's highlighted to nowadays? Like, do you like the direction it's going? Do you think that there can be some improvements? Just kind of, speak on that.
I like the way it's going. Like I don't have a whole, crazy amount to say about that.
Yeah, right.
I'll say that I more than like the way it's going. I love the way that it's going. I love the way that it's opening up for our community. I love the way that stigma is being like demystified, and that we are able to have access to different types of care. I really like that. I like the direction. And I just hope we keep getting more and more of it. I hope that people are less and less afraid to reach out for help when they need to.
That's dope, man. Dr. Timbo, man, thank you so much for coming out.
Thank you for having me.
And enjoying a vodka sunrise with me. I appreciate it. Just for anyone who may want to find you on social media, like, reach out to you for a session, just like, where they can find you, anything you got coming up personally, just, this is your time to, yeah.
So I'm on Facebook at Dr. Darla Timbo, and then I'm on Instagram, and my skills on Instagram are getting better.
Yeah, I see you. Yeah,
I'm on Instagram at Dr. D Timbo. So yeah, that's where I can be found.
Awesome.
You can also find me on my website too, Atlas Counseling Services with an S.org.
Awesome.
And you can make a session or contact me for speaking engagement or whatever through the website.
I feel you, man. Listen, man, if you're in Pittsburgh and your girl's not hitting you back, hit Dr. Timbo. Yeah. You feel me, man? MIC episode 51, Toby King, Dr. Timbo, man. We are out of this, man. Peace.